Gracious God, we gather on this amazing day to honor these students as they transition into their next chapter of life. While at Grinnell, they have journeyed together through joyful peaks and shadowed valleys. They have endured, have weathered a social firestorm, and remained a vibrant and engaged community, one that proudly celebrates diversity and continues to seek ways to support each other and to grow. We are grateful that as a community, our students are wonderfully diverse and remarkably resilient. They are leaders and dreamers. They have vision and courage. We pray that they continue to flourish and share their gifts where needed in the next place they call home. We acknowledge with joy and appreciation the family and friends who have supported these students, those who are here this day in person, and those who are here in spirit. On this morning, we celebrate as we are grateful for supportive mentors and friends, for faculty who have challenged these students, and students who have challenged these faculty, for staff members who have worked with and helped to guide students during their time with us. And so we honor these graduates for their contributions to our campus community and town, for their courage and strength, for their commitment to learning, and for their perseverance. And we begin with a posture of joy, giving thanks for the privilege to be in each other's presence and to mark and celebrate this milestone. Amen. Please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to present our 2015 commencement speaker, Bill McKibben. Best-selling author, environmental activist, and journalist, Bill brings to us his passion for the environment and his model for fighting to build and preserve a sustainable planet. His dedication to thinking globally, acting locally, his impassioned plea for radical and life-renewing change, and his unceasing activism serve as inspiration to our graduates. Please welcome Bill McKibben.
Well, what a pleasure to be here on this glorious day. It's always good to see the shining faces of the parents and grandparents and the slightly haggard faces of the graduating class who apparently decided that it was necessary to spend one last night in the library, hard at work. It's always fun for a commencement speaker to relish the temporary but immense power that's been granted to him after 18 or so years of education for you all. The last obstacle you face is me. And I suppose if I went on speaking forever, well, I won't. None of you can remember the first speech you heard in kindergarten, but likely it had something to do with the theme of playing nicely together. And in a way, that's my message today, with the emphasis on together. This is a day for individual pride, yes, but it's also one of the last days in your life when you are by necessity, not by choice, part of something larger than yourselves. I can't hope to know you all as individuals. No one can, but I have some sense of you as a group. I've spent a lot of time at small liberal arts colleges like this one, which are the unique glory of American education and of which Grinnell is such an exemplar. And I've spent some time here, too, over the years. The way that a child draws their first picture of a house with 4 windows and a chimney, then that's their kind of platonic ideal of a house. My platonic ideal of a college is the image of Grinnell, because my aunt and uncle were the classics department here, or a large part of it, for almost 40 years. And I can remember so well watching them as we would come to visit. They were my idea of what professors were like, and they were great scholars. The family joke was that if my Uncle Bill was late coming home for dinner, Tim or Andy would be dispatched to the library to go find him, and there he would be standing someplace in the stacks looking for yet another book. But above all, they were members of a community, of the college community, and they took it with great seriousness. And I can remember the nights watching students cram into their house for readings and study. Grinnell is a great place precisely because it is a community. And in fact, that's the remarkable thing about college. It's the 4 years in an average American life when you get to live as most human beings have lived for most of human history. That is, in close physical and emotional proximity to lots of other people. It's rare in our society except for college. And sometimes during that 4 years, it's a pain when someone is, I don't know, playing the stereo at 3 in the morning or whatever it is. But most of the time, it is the great joy when the old grads like me totter back for reunion and talk about college as the best 4 years of their life. They not really, and I'm sorry to say this, faculty, wishing that they could take Introduction to Sociology once more. They are remembering what it felt like to be in that community. And one of the great ironies of higher education is that we spend that 4 years preparing you to earn enough money that you never have to live that way again, okay? But you can be as creative as you want to be. And I hope that you will, because you emerge into a world of serious problems that can only be solved by joint action. One hesitates on a joyful day to talk about problems. But, in a sense, this is the day that any last training wheels come off, and it's at a moment when we desperately need you as full-fledged citizens, and so a certain kind of frankness is required. There are always troubles in the world, but there are two in particular that the generations before you are not only not solving, but making daily worse, and that will affect and shade your lives unless you're able to work to change them. The first is what we've come to understand now is the radical inequality in this country and in this world. This year, watching events in places like Ferguson, we got some strong sense that the American experience is not the same at all for everyone. But that's not just anecdotal. It's backed up by every kind of statistic you could ask for, and the numbers are painfully stark. Yesterday's newspaper carried the story that the 6 heirs to the Walmart fortune together have more money than 47.3% of the entire U.S. population combined. The bottom half of America has less assets than those 6 people. Yesterday's paper also carried the news that the 25 most highly paid hedge fund advisors in the country make more money, those 25 people, than every single kindergarten teacher in America combined, all 158,000. That gives you some sense of where our priorities at the moment are lying. Now, a few of those people are, of course, redeemed by their generosity, though on average, rich people are less charitable than poor. But even so, this is not healthy for the society in which we live. And of course, if you look at this globally, all of us hold roughly the same position to much of the rest of the world as those Walmart heirs hold towards us. You're now equipped, all of you, to try and join that top tier if you want to. In fact, most of you will end up, if not in the stratosphere, then in 1 or 2 orbits down. And the question is how you'll react. By closing in, by choosing the gated community, or by reaching out. And the second crisis that we face illustrates why the stakes are even higher than with Gilded Ages in the past, why reaching out will be so important. The second crisis, of course, is the physical one. Climate change is the overwhelming reality of our time. College commencements go back to the 11th century, but until the last few springs, all of those college commencements took place in what scientists call the Holocene, that period of benign climatic stability that coincided and not coincidentally with the rise of human civilization. Not yours. In your lifetimes, the most important thing that has happened is that this planet crossed over some invisible boundary from the Holocene into something else, maybe what scientists now call the Anthropocene, the world made by man. How is the Anthropocene going? Not very well. Last week came news from NASA that the Larsen B ice shelf, slightly larger than Rhode Island, is apparently poised to tip into the ocean in the Antarctic. You've seen the pictures in the last few months from California enduring a drought unlike any that's been recorded in the past. And of course, as usual, these things are bad where we are, but we have enough money for the moment to cope with them. In the rest of the world, they're an unmitigated disaster, what Desmond Tutu, the great Nobel laureate and freedom fighter, called the greatest human rights challenge of our time. The thing that makes this so tragic is that it is no longer necessary. The best thing that's happened in your 4 years in college is that the price of a solar panel has fallen about 75%. The engineers have done their job and made it possible for us to imagine a world that runs in a very different way. We could do this. Denmark, yesterday, generated 115% of the power that it used from the sun and the wind and shipped the extra off to the rest of Scandinavia. It is possible to do this. As we can tell, Denmark has no monopoly on wind. But at the moment, it's not happening, this transition, fast enough to matter. And it's not happening because of that same pervasive inequality. The fossil fuel industry is the richest enterprise that human beings have ever conceived. And those riches have been used to keep us from making that transition with speed. The richest man on earth is actually the two Koch brothers, for instance, oil and gas barons whose net worth taken together blocks or outshadows anybody else. And they have announced that they will spend $900 million of that fortune on the next presidential election. A lot of it will be spent here in Iowa. And they will spend it to make sure that nothing changes. They'll spend more money, that is, than the Republican Committee or the Democratic National Committee on the next election. It is hopeless to try and outspend the Exxons and the Shells of the world. So the answer has to be citizenship. Aggressive, engaged, occasionally impolite citizenship. You are all well trained now to do something useful from 9 to 5, or 9 to 6 or 7, probably in your first job, okay? I'm not worried about that. It's your evenings and your weekends that we need some of, the time when we do the work of citizenship. Once in a while, that means voting or electioneering, but usually it means figuring out how to come together to apply pressure on our systems the other 364 days of the year. Because these are not individual problems. It is a good idea to change your light bulb. I have solar panels all over the roof of my house, and I drove the first electric hybrid car in my state, but I do not try to fool myself that we are solving climate change those ways. This is a structural and systemic problem, which means that the answers are structural and systemic. I'm reminded often of a friend of mine, a guy named Gus Speth, who had perhaps the most golden resume there'd ever been. He had founded the Natural Resources Defense Council. Then he worked as chair of the President's Council on Environmental Quality. Then he headed the United Nations Development Program. Then he was dean at Yale. I got to spend the most time I ever spent with him, about 48 hours, in Central Cell Block in D.C., where the two of us had been arrested at the first protests against the Keystone Pipeline. And at a point in the course of that 48 hours, Gus, by then in his 70s, looked over at me from the next cell through the bars and said, "You know, I've held a lot of important positions here in Washington, but none of them seem as important as the one I'm in right now." This doesn't mean that all of you need to go to jail, okay? Nor does it mean that those older among us are exempt from the challenge. In fact, though young people are leading most of these fights, it probably isn't the greatest single thing for your resume to have an arrest record right away. For the rest of us, once you're past a certain age, what the hell are they going to do to you, you know? Something, by the way, goes triple for anybody who happens to have tenure. You don't all need to go to jail, but you do need to be citizens of all kinds of communities, including, very shortly, alumni, citizens of this Grinnell community where you've been in residence but now will be in the diaspora, but still connected and still connected to your college. We're very hopeful that Grinnell will come to join this divestment movement from fossil fuels that's marked Stanford and Syracuse and last week the University of Washington and so many other places. It's beautiful to see, as the Rockefeller family, the first family of fossil fuel, said last September that the most important step they could take was to sell off their family's investments in coal and gas and oil in an effort to weaken the political power of that industry. But you also need to be citizens of the country and of the planet, and you are at a great moment for which to do that. The sudden advent of the internet, it seems obvious to you, but to all the rest of us, it seems still like something very new and unusual. The sudden advent allows you to imagine connection in a visceral way that people before you have not been able to. Don't think that you can change the world by sending each other email petitions. You can't, but you can take that beautiful connection and use it to go to work in the real world. All of it only works if you are part of something larger than yourself. Faced with the kind of crises that we face, the most important thing that an individual can do is to not always be an individual, to join together with others. And here's the paradox. In my experience, that joining together with others leads to the most deep and hopeful pleasures that you will find. There was a story in the paper last week about a survey of lawyers around the country. And what they found was that those who were happiest were the ones who were making the least money, the ones who were working in some kind of public service law. Now, it's all relative, of course. They're lawyers, so they're not starving. Everybody's doing fine. But the ones who were devoted to something else were finding deep satisfaction. Your task is not to be poor. Your task is to think about where riches lie and to see if perhaps the answer isn't that they lie with others. We're all of us who are old now, we are all so grateful for the work and intelligence and good humor and spirit that has brought you to this point. What we up here and behind you among the ranks of your parents and grandparents, what we know, if we know anything, is that all of us are in this together, and so we are overjoyed that that us is today so magnificently enlarged. Congratulations.
President Kington, it is my pleasure to present those persons of high accomplishment and distinction to whom the faculty and trustees of this college wish to accord honorary degrees. I have the honor to present Bill McKibben for the honorary degree Doctor of Humane Letters.
Bill McKibben is a writer, an environmentalist, and an activist. But perhaps his most remarkable skill is his ability to see where our society is headed long before the rest of us. He is the veritable beacon in the night, warning us about the dangers that lie ahead if we fail to pay attention and to take action. McKibben burst onto the scene in 1989 with The End of Nature, the first book about climate change for a general audience. The book provoked a nationwide discussion and was reprinted in 20 languages. That book helped launch his career as an activist fighting climate change. In 1992, McKibben became what may be the country's first true television binge watcher. As a vast experiment, McKibben recorded a day's worth of programming from nearly 100 television stations, then watched all 1,700 hours of it. He compared those hours to a single day spent in nature near his home. The result, the 1992 book, The Age of Missing Information, explores what we lose when we spend our time in front of screens instead of in the world. He continues to use his writing to help us focus on issues that deserve our attention. His recent books have addressed the shortcomings of the growth economy, the dangers of genetic engineering, and what it means to live more lightly on the planet. For his perceptive writing that urges all of us to take action at the individual and global level, we are pleased to recognize Bill McKibben.
Bill McKibben, on recommendation of the faculty of this college and with approval of the Board of Trustees, I admit you to the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
What more can I say? It is a great pleasure to get to join your company today as a graduate of this institution. Thank you.
President Kington, I have the honor to present Mary Catherine Seeley for the honorary degree Doctor of Sciences.
With a scientist's mind and a humanitarian's heart, Mary Catherine Seeley has had a transformative impact on the southern African nation of Namibia. Since she arrived in Namibia in 1967 as a postdoctoral student, she has moved the field of arid zone ecology forward with her perceptive research on desert ecology. And she has been instrumental in helping residents and animals thrive in this harsh desert landscape. In her scientific work at the University of Namibia, she has published more than 160 papers and has co-supervised dozens of master's and doctoral candidates. In 2013, the Geological Society of America gave Dr. Seeley the Farouk Elbaz Award for Desert Research, an honor that recognizes both the vast scope and significance of her work. Some of her most remarkable accomplishments, however, have come in the form of policy. For more than 25 years, she has been a central figure at the Desert Research Foundation of Namibia, which, among other goals, helps combat the country's desertification. Through coordinated efforts with government officials, farmers, and non-government organizations, Seeley has helped create strategies and policies to manage critical water and sanitation issues. Her work has helped unite the interests of these diverse groups to create lasting solutions. In 2008, the Namibia Nature Foundation named her the Conservationist of the Decade. For her diligent efforts to understand and preserve fragile desert environments, we are pleased to recognize Mary Seeley.
On the recommendation of the faculty of this college and with approval of the Board of Trustees, I hereby admit Mary Catherine Seeley to the degree Doctor of Science honoris causa.
So, good morning, graduates, faculty, and guests. First and foremost, let me thank Grinnell College for the incredible honor being bestowed upon me today. I would particularly like to thank the many Grinnell faculty and students with whom I've had the pleasure to learn and work over the past 16 years when we first established Grinnell Corps at Gobabeb. On behalf of Gobabeb and my Namibian colleagues, let me say how very grateful we are for the continuing partnership with this college that has been so transformative for Grinnellians and Namibians alike. My goal today is to reassure all of you and your parents that you are more than ready for the challenges that await you. I say this based on experiences with 34 Grinnell students over 16 years, newly graduated like yourselves, that came to Namibia to assist the Gobabeb Research and Training Center in our mission to build an environmentally sustainable future through education and training of Namibians. These Grinnellians, be they English, chemistry, or history majors, are able to dive in and perform the difficult work we ask them to do because of the valuable education they have received. Like you, they earned a degree, and so much more. I recently saw the Grinnell College mission statement for the first time and was amazed to see the qualities of our wonderful Grinnell Corps fellows rather well articulated. So I want to remind you that these are the valuable attributes that you have gained over the past 4 years and are now graduating with. In Namibia, I see newly minted Grinnellians using these abilities daily to facilitate teaching and learning amongst a variety of Namibians, including elementary school children, resource managers, parliamentarians, and foreign ambassadors and dignitaries who are there to learn to live sustainably in the driest countries south of the Sahel. It is quite remarkable. In conclusion, the outstanding Grinnellians that I have had the pleasure to interact with embrace challenges, think on their feet, learn as they go, and are always ready to seize the opportunity that serendipity provides. Yet, at the same time, the Grinnell experience has taught them firsthand about the value of taking advantage of the enduring relationships that they have made here on this campus. I'm here to tell all of you graduates, you are all the newest crop of outstanding Grinnellians. I encourage you to remain open-minded, flexible, and ready to take full advantage of what comes your way, using your wonderful education to make the world a better place today and in the future. Best of luck to you all.
President Kington, I have the honor to present Penny Bender Sebring, class of 1964, and Charles Ashby Lewis for the honorary degree Doctor of Laws.
Penny Bender Sebring and her husband, Charles Ashby Lewis, both built successful careers. She in educational research at the University of Chicago, he in investment banking at Merrill Lynch. Later, they combined their expertise to become active philanthropists with a nation-changing vision for professionalizing teaching. Dr. Sebring has spent her career at the University of Chicago studying urban education and putting research into practice. She is the co-founder of the University of Chicago Consortium on Chicago School Research, a 25-year-old organization that informs school improvement efforts in Chicago and beyond. Mr. Lewis spent nearly 35 years at Merrill Lynch. He is also passionate about improving public schooling for diverse, low-income students, helping, among other things, to build the University of Chicago's Urban Education Institute. The pair's combined expertise led them to a big idea. The key to attracting the best and brightest to careers in pre-K through 12 teaching and related fields is professionalization, just like in medicine and the law. To that end, the couple has helped to found and is funding 3 collaborative careers and education professions programs at the University of Chicago, Amherst College, and here at Grinnell. These programs help students at these elite colleges who enter with an interest in public education to validate that interest through hands-on experience and, if validated, prepare for education careers through internships, alumni engagement, advising, and other guidance. For their strategic and philanthropic efforts to improve education in America, Grinnell is pleased to honor today Penny Bender Sebring and Charles Ashby Lewis.
Penny Bender Sebring and Charles Ashby Lewis, on the recommendation of the faculty of this college and with approval of the Board of Trustees, I admit you to the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
Thank you.
We're an unlikely pair to be standing here today. A longtime educational researcher and a veteran investment banker. First-generation college goers whose worlds were enlarged by our liberal arts education. I didn't know my biological father. My adopted father had an 8th grade education. My mother was a Rosie the Riveter during World War II and didn't finish college. I arrived here freshman year by train from Denver, never having seen the campus before. My bags were packed with some clothes that I had made. I don't make them anymore. I came to Grinnell on the recommendation of a friend from my church, and it turned out to be perfect for me.
It feels good to have this hood on because it's a little warmer. Actually, one of the last times we were here was 2008 for the caucuses, and it was about this temperature in January of 2008. I grew up near Albany, New York, just 90 miles west of Amherst College. But I never heard the place until senior year. I was recruited to play football there. Yes, I know the football part is hard to believe.
Grinnell opened my eyes to possibility. First, I was a Peace Corps volunteer, then a social studies teacher. Next, I earned my doctorate from Northwestern University, and finally co-founded the University of Chicago Consortium on Chicago School Research. Chuck never fails to remind me what a mouthful that name is.
The long and the short of it here. With that quintessential pioneer background, Penny was skeptical, to say the least, about dating an investment banker, assuming that I couldn't possibly share her values. It's worked out okay. Probably in part because we share a deep faith in the transformative power of education. Over the years, I've read a lot of research about the critical role that good teachers play in public schools, like the ones that we attended. Realizing the need to professionalize teaching and the central interplay of status and talent in doing so, we seized on the opportunity to start the Careers in Education Profession program. Yeah, all right, go Ed Pros. As you heard earlier, both here at Grinnell and at Amherst and U Chicago, where it's no coincidence that we are proud trustees of those three great colleges.
We believe that public school teaching will become a much more viable career when relatively more graduates from top colleges like this one make it a career. We are grateful to President Kington, to Professor Ketter, to Program Director Schaefer, to Dean Peltz, and many others for helping to make the Education Professions program a reality here. And we appreciate our friend George Drake, President Emeritus of the college. Not only was he a marvelous teacher, he and Sue were Peace Corps volunteers, and their son is a dedicated public school teacher. We also applaud you here at Grinnell for your leadership in making it possible for more first-generation students like the two of us to attend an elite college like this. And we are humbled for to be honored today. Thank you.
President Kington, I have the honor to present Kit Abel Hawkins for the honorary degree Doctor of Social Studies.
Kit Abel Hawkins is a teacher who has always seen the enormous potential in her students. But even more important, she is a teacher who is able to help students tap into that vast potential themselves. Hawkins is the founder and director of the Arbor School of Arts and Sciences, a Portland area school that teaches students from kindergarten through 8th grade. The school has a deep focus on developing students' intellect, character, and creativity. Hawkins both demands and expects excellence from her students, while always providing the support they need to achieve at the highest levels. She is particularly skilled at connecting students with the work they were meant to do. With an uncanny ability to see the connections between her students' skills and passions, she helps students find projects that they throw their heart into for a semester, a year, or even the rest of their lives. Such was the case for Grinnell student Rebecca Garner, who credits Hawkins for encouraging her to pursue her love of both art and science through projects that focused on graphite drawings and Mendelian genetics. Garner credits this early work to her decision as a Grinnell student to double major in both visual art and biology, majors that she says contain surprising and beautiful connections. We are pleased to recognize Kit Abel Hawkins for her lifelong commitment to bringing out the best in her students.
Kit Abel Hawkins, on recommendation of the faculty of this college and with approval of the Board of Trustees, I admit you to the degree Doctor of Social Studies honoris causa. That worked better.
What a deeply moving form of recognition has been conferred on me today. I extend my profound thanks to President Kington and Dean Latham, Professor Marsloff, and the Honorary Degree Committee for the privilege of joining the procession of educators on whose work Grinnell has chosen to shine a light. It's an honor to address the Grinnell class of 2015 and to offer you the gift of a poem, The Way It Is, by William Stafford, Poet Laureate of Oregon. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. I hope a thread has become palpable to you in your years at Grinnell. By the time your remarkable classmate Rebecca Garner was in the 8th grade at the school I founded a quarter century ago, Becca had begun to recognize that she had a thread she was following, one that spun together filaments of art and tendrils of biology. At that time, she formulated a senior project, for that is what we call the year-long work each 8th grader undertakes at Arbor, in which superb drawings of her rabbits accompanied a precocious research paper on the genetic markers of the baby rabbit her breeding program produced. She has followed her thread, continuing to distinguish herself as an artist and a scholar here at Grinnell. Stafford goes on. People wonder what you are pursuing. You have to explain the thread, but it is hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Following your thread means that you know what you were made for, what your métier is, what it is you have to offer up to a world whose broken parts must constantly come under repair through the agency of those who care. I was fortunate. I felt the thread in my hands when I was young. I went off to Oberlin College with the thread securely gripped in my hands, determined to develop the intellectual background I needed to teach ambitiously and ultimately to build and lead a school. May your collegiate experience prove as generative and lastingly important as has mine. Holding on to the thread means not getting lost, and it also means finding joy in work that suits you and that makes a difference. There are obligations that are entailed by your calling, whatever it is, and those obligations will exact their toll. Yet the deep well of quiet joy that arises from following your thread is sustaining. Tragedies happen, Stafford continues. People get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you can do can stop time's unfolding. You don't let go of the thread. Yes, I am getting older, but I haven't let go of the thread. Truth to tell, I still never tire of helping a student navigate the maze of long division, or of guiding a reading group through a great piece of literature, or of supporting an 8th grader as she crafts a senior project that displays her promise. I continue to be restless in pursuing new ideas for Arbor to improve its capacity to inspire learners. And since Rebecca was with us, I created a new arm of the school devoted to attracting engaged and broadly educated people like you to the world of teaching. 3 cheers for what Peggy and Chuck are doing, and for those of you who are doing it with them, I laud you all. There are consolations to growing old. The thread only grows stronger, more resilient, and more vibrant. Here with you today are your beloved families and this esteemed faculty, those who have nurtured you, chided you, encouraged you, worried for you, cheered and comforted you as you work to reach this point, the point at which knowing what you are good at will help you know what you are good for. May your threads shine. Thank you.
It is now my privilege as president to recognize members of the faculty who, after long and devoted tenure at the college, are entering upon emeritus status. I now ask Kent Allen McClellan, Professor of Sociology, to please rise. For more than 30 years, you have championed the quantitative and technological literacy of Grinnell students in the social sciences. Yourself an early adopter, you have continually led your students and colleagues to effectively use technology in the classroom, in research methods, and in statistical analysis. Your courses over 3 decades have represented many subdisciplines of sociology and cross interdisciplinary lines in team teaching. A strong supporter of the Peace and Conflict Studies program, you were one of the first to teach courses on conflict resolution and management, and you have served as a member of the college's steering committee since that inception. Your mission, too, has always been to make Grinnell students critical thinkers and effective writers. Whether working one-on-one with hundreds of students in your courses or assisting faculty colleagues via the writing program, you have set exceptionally high standards for strengthening and assessing the written word. Your research on perceptual control theory itself crosses disciplines, yet you have established yourself among scholars of this theory, recently publishing in the leading journal of your discipline and continuing to work on a collection that will be used by researchers in diverse fields. In the local community, you have offered your expertise to direct an extensive list of campus and community surveys, providing statistical and methodological support as a volunteer. Throughout these dedicated activities, you have served more than half of your career here as chair of the Department of Sociology, which has grown significantly in numbers of majors and diversity of faculty representation. For your steadfast commitment to the pursuit of excellence in the liberal arts, we honor you today as Professor Emeritus of Sociology. I now ask Edward A. Phillips, Jr., Professor of Classics, to please rise. Your discipline dates to the earliest academic institutions, and throughout your 40-year career at Grinnell, you have remained true to and instructed countless others in the traditions of liberal arts education. Your teaching has included not only the classical languages of Greek and Latin, but also the rich history, literature, art, archaeology, mythology, and philosophy of the ancient worlds. When you arrived at Grinnell, you expanded long-tenured, deeply held tradition by developing new courses. You also oversaw a break from tradition when, during your tenure as department chair, East Asian languages were introduced to the curriculum through the Department of Classics. Your research on the works of humanist and Latin scholar Erasmus led to a 2009 translated volume in the collected works of Erasmus published by the University of Toronto. That volume has also led to your review of a succeeding volume in Greek. Your decades of campus service and commitment chronicle timely changes in the college's curriculum, faculty organizational structure, and campus-wide planning. Many times you represented the faculty on administrative task forces, review, and selection committees. Since arriving in 1975, you have lent a strong voice to the college and community chorus, now appropriately known as the Grinnell Oratorio Society. You also served and led the boards of the Mid-Iowa Community Action, Community Daycare, and Grinnell Area Arts Council, as well as local church volunteer leadership. Today, you led us to this ceremony in your role as college marshal, and over the years, you have served in leadership roles in Phi Beta Kappa Beta Chapter of Iowa. For your dedication and service to the tradition of liberal arts education, we honor you today as Professor Emeritus of Classics. I now ask Professors Alan Schrift, Janice Ice, Eliza Willis, and Irene Powell to stand. It is my honor to recognize these faculty members moving to senior faculty status or taking early retirement. Senior faculty status recognizes those members of the faculty who wish to be released from their regular full-time teaching obligations to pursue scholarly and professional activities associated with the college. Thank you. You may be seated. I would also like to take this time to recognize Henry Walker for his long-standing tenure as Assistant Marshal. This year is Henry's 35th and last year being the Assistant Marshal since 1977. We appreciate his many years of service helping our graduates cross the stage, literally.
President Kington, and ladies and gentlemen, the Dean of the College will now present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts.
Would the candidates for the Bachelor of Arts degree please rise? President Kington, on the recommendation of the faculty of Grinnell College, I present to you these candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts. Having fulfilled all the academic requirements, they are deemed worthy of and entitled to this degree.
As president of Grinnell College, I now recommend to the Board of Trustees, through you as one of its members, that each of these students be graduated to the degree of Bachelor of Arts. One more. A little bit more.
President Kington, the charter of this fine institution is to promote the general interest of education and to qualify young people for the different professions for the honorable discharge of the various duties of life. It is a pleasure for me to acknowledge that these students have not only completed a course of formal study at this institution, but have also come to know the demands and rewards of a shared experience in learning. As such, they have indeed furthered the general interest of education and qualified themselves for the honorable discharge of the various duties of life. The Board of Trustees is therefore pleased to accept your recommendation and authorizes you as president to grant this degree. In doing so, we also want to acknowledge the outstanding work of the faculty and the staff and appreciate their contributions to these students.
It's not over till I say it's over. By the authority vested in me by the trustees of Grinnell College, I now officially declare that having met all the requirements, you are today granted the degree of Bachelor of Arts and are admitted to all the rights, privileges, and responsibility that it confers. Congratulations, you may be seated.
President Kington, Professor Tyler Roberts will call the graduates in the Division of Humanities.
Will the graduates to the Bachelor of Arts degree from the Division of the Humanities please come to the platform as instructed by the Marshal? Cedric Abdul Hakim. Mary Alice Adams. Fabiola Maria Barral. Quinita Olivia Bellows. Jonathan Beltran Alvarez in absentia. Hannah Ruth Bernard. Yasmin Renee Bieland. Marshall William Bato. Sinead Claire Brady. Rebecca Jean Brockenborough. Athena May Carlson. Rebecca Emily Carpenter. Fatima Cervantes. Benjamin Charney. Crystal Siobhan Coleman. Coulter Alden Combs. Douglas Gregory Dale. Chantel Alexis Lee Dallas. Danny M. DeSantis. Natalie Taylor Dawkin. Devin Thomas Doyle. Lila May Muhammad El-Shami. Sarah Jane Farbman. Amy Maricela Flores. Thomas Joseph Foley Jr. Sylvia Elena Foster Frau. Caroline Grace Froh. John Angus Chipman Fulgani. Jessica Ruth Gallegos. Rebecca Gail Garner. Tess J. Given. Giovanni Gomez. Thomas Dale Grabinski. Kendall Marie Granis. Eleanor Miranda Griggs. Stephen John Gruber Miller. Samuel Browning Hildebrand. Nicholas Thompson Hunter. Linnea Elizabeth Hurst. Yulia Yordake. Eleni Christine Herrera. Vernon Lee Jackson Jr. Nathan Junhyo Kim. Andrea Jean Lakiotis. Jordan Henry Manker. Eden Elizabeth Marek. Timothy John McCall. Ursula Evelyn McDade. Leah Ann Meyer. Jordan Jean Myers. Richard John Montalvo. Emma Catherine Morrissey. Alicia Marie Mulholland. Varun Nair. Linda Christina Omanya. Martha Shirley McMullen Orlett. Anastasia Overtrova. Sorry. Magdalena Rose Parkhurst. August James Peterson in absentia. Hannah Leigh Rico Quicksell. Samantha Ann Rosen. Violeta Cristina Ruiz Espagares. I think the wind took away a page. Sarah Beth Ramey? That's right. Yes. The wind.
Yes, 2015!
Sarah Beth Ramey. Molly Johanna Reed. Rebecca Nicole Ray Holloway. Jacqueline Ann Reinders. Maria Catherine Richardson. Samantha? Charis Elizabeth Russell. Daniel George Ryerson. Ian James Saderholm. Jacob Gabriel Salzman. Carl Robert Sessions. Alex Michael Scharfman. Sarah Elizabeth Underwood Sherrill. Maria Shevelkina. Dana Brittany Sly. Audrey Ryan Smith. Sarah Elizabeth Smoroden Sarber. Emily Farrow Sorter. Yasmin Cachet Taylor. Nathaniel Walter Tingley. Emily Sue Tomac. Emma Evans Vale. Veronica Shane Maranin Vergara. Matea Gabriela Voice. Carly Hannah Wachschlag. Isaac Cannon Walker. Adriana Marie Walsh. Benjamin David Warner. Benjamin Charles Wiedemann. Sarah Rose Wiedekamp. Young Charlotte West. Sella Kaylee Westray. Charles Gilmer Wilhelm. Zerong Yin in absentia. Yixin Chang. Mary Zheng. President Kington, these are the graduates from the Division of Humanities.
President Kington, Professor Richard Fife will call the graduates in the Division of Science.
Will the graduates to the Bachelor of Arts degree from the Division of Science please come to the platform as instructed by the Marshal? Zachary Lawrence Angel. Mohammed Imad Bahira. Helen Maciel Barroso. Joyce L. Bartlett. Nipun Sundip Busra. Allison Ariel Bailey. Joyanne Lakila Becker. Andrew Micah Johnson Bostrom. Lev Braun. Jeremy Milton Bullman. Alexandra Elizabeth Byrne. Keaton Thomason Cameron Burr. Isaac Wadria Chaudhry. Linnea Taylor Champ. Kevin Lee Charette. Miriam Guy Clayton. Nicholas Ryan Corbin Cohen. Hannah June Cohn. Daniel Mark Connelly. Marissa Antoinette Cotterell. Connor Michael Cunningham. Elliot Joseph Zarnicki. Kristen Carr Dabney. Taylor Joseph Dabney. Rockney Jules DeCoster. Clayton Patrick Desjardins. Kenzie Marcella Doyle. Benjamin Flo Elias. Karina Elaine Escalante.
Karina, but thank you.
Karina. William D. Ewing III. Jessica Shannon Flannery. Natalie Simising Ford. Jennifer Lynn Fulton. Lee Walker Gatchell. William Gallagher Gaub. Theodore William Geiger. Olivia Jellerson. Nathaniel Hugh George. John Thomas Gernon. Elizabeth Dietrich Gillig. Jacob Ganerke. Elsa Lederach Goldman. William Robert Gottlieb. Christopher Michael Harwood Graves. Alexis Lauren Greenwell, virtually from Denver. Evan Fitzgerald Griffith. Roman Vasilyevich Grigory. Edward Thomas Gouin Murray. Pierce Jacob Gustafson. Haley Aurora Hajek. Sunho Han. Mackenzie Lee Higgins. Emily Claire Hilton. Eugenia Ann Dabney Hoffman. Patrick S. Hook. Chenheli Hua. Brittany Lynn Hubler. Alexis Renee Hudson. Ashley M. Holbert. Terrell Derek James. Sarah Elizabeth Jensen. Henna Mukesh Jobanputra.
I think you missed any.
Not in my list.
Not in your list.
Shall I read?
Well, let me consult.
Not in my list.
2015! 2015! 2015!
Yes.
Point. Danielle Jaime Garcia. Terrell Derek James. Okay.
Tess is next.
Tess Hannah Johnson. There we are. Catherine Elizabeth Kane. Meredith Emily Kalkbrenner. Yuki Kawahara. Catherine Elizabeth Klesner. Forrest James Knapp. Arthi Kaluri. Michael Lee Corti. Colin Clark Kramer. Kaylee Morgan Kress. Erica Richstone Kwiatkowski. Connie P.S. Lee. Daniel Sung-Koo Lee. Spencer Bernard Liberto. Jason Liu. Danya Liu. Harry Bruce Marr. Riley Caitlin Mangan. Devon Marie Manley. Edith Chanhi March. Aaron Alexander Mardis. Leah Marolt Zonenschein. Delora Louise Martin. Jacob Edward Meixler. Lingyo Meng. Emily Victoria Mesev. Joseph Elliott Meyer. Petar Milkovich. Matthew James Miller. Brianna Elaine Mills. Austin Matthew Mackenzie Morris. Elizabeth McCadden Morse. Daniel Isaac Munger. Nata Nakaidze. Chen Cornelia Elspeth Osborne. Santiago Alberto Paredes Martinez in absentia. Sarah Yasmin Pasha. Haley Ilyas Pavlov in absentia. Alec Wilson Peck. Christy Alexandra Peterson. Stephen John Petritus. Danielle Ann Phillips. Jolene Marie Pyatt. Samantha Lynn Pilliser. Ellen Alexandra Pinette. Alexandra Elizabeth Plemons. Lori Brill Poliski. Andrea Marie Quinn. Mira Elliott Ramamurthy. Ethan Ratliff Crane. Richard Garrett Renteria. Daniel Sean Reynolds. Michael J. Rieksecker. Emmanuel Sandoval Ruiz. Ankita Sarawagi. Julia Maxine Sauerhaft. Rebecca Nicole Scherer. Catherine Nicole Schlesner. Elena Lee Seeley. Diana Marie Sear. Carrie Ann Sebald. Keith James Siegel in absentia. All right. Good. Elian Doria Silverman. Johanna Isabel Mangesh Silverman. Patrick Lee Slough. Haley Simone Speck. Caleb Sheffer Sponheim. The Andrew W. Archibald Prize for Highest Scholarship is awarded at each commencement to that student or students who have attained the best record of academic achievement over the 4-year period of collegiate work. Established in 1927, the award is named for its donor, the Reverend Andrew W. Archibald, who served as a distinguished member of the college's Board of Trustees. It is my pleasure to present the Archibald Prize medalist for 2015, James Francis St. Germain Fuller. Emily Rebecca Stuchiner. Morgan Ann Sullivan. Jack Edward Taylor, Jr. Dan Wei Tang. Julianne Alexandra Toya. Daniel Maximino Torres. Janice Mi Tran. Patrick Nelson Triest. Michelle Tsai. Selena Annette Tucker. Emily Lynn Tweedle. Isaiah Jonas Tyree. Lorena Uyeho. Rachel Cameron Van Court. Justin Joseph Viverka. Joshua Vernazza. Zachary Paul Villa. Claudia Isabel Viquez Rojas. Evangelos Vlahos. Ross Allen Volker. Allison Mary Walker. Shanice Stacy Ann Webster. Claire Louise Weidman. Anthony John Wendt. Summer Levon Wilkie. June Oriana Yolkwepa. Li Feng Yuan. Tague McLean Bransby Zachary. Yu Zhang. Yason Zheng. Fan Chao Zhu. Chong Zua. President Kington, these are the graduates from the Division of Science.
President Kington, Professor Carla Erickson will call the graduates in the Division of Social Studies.
Will the graduates to the Bachelor of Arts degree from the Division of Social Studies please come to the platform as instructed by the Marshal. Irvin Achille, in absentia. Julie Aguilar. Willa Kosek Aki. Peter Christian Aldrich. Douglas David Anderson. Michael Thomas Anarino. Yan Yang An. Sonia Elizabeth Marie Barrett. Dylan Robert Bartouche. Kimberly Batres Chavez. Peter William Bouts. Alyssa Ann Bean. Walker Reeves Bell. Mtemp Kayani Blunt. Bonnie Lynn Brooks. Jacqueline Janelle Brooks. Jennifer Dennison Brooks. Daria Staffa Brocious. Joseph Brown. Shaqual Lachey Brown. Irene Victoria Bruce. Hannah Lee Burt. Andres Cabronero. Jong Il Chun, in absentia. Oh, present, sorry. We're glad he's here, congratulations. Bethany Lynn Clark. Glenna Colrider Crew. Sarah Elizabeth Carapi. Austin Michael Cody. Ryan Sue Courtney. Rosalie Nellie Curtin. Uzma Daraman. Colin Scott Davis Johnson. Mark Christopher DeCoste. Jade Elise Denson. Benjamin Spencer Dorr. James Clifton Dowell. Natalie Duncombe. Jennifer Lane Dysert. Talulape Emenze Adyanwe. Farida El-Habashi. Emma Frances Foley. Clark Eugene Fancher. Elaine Lee Fang. Catherine Ann Dudash Fenster. Ronnie Ida Finkelstein. Allison Elizabeth Fisher. Nathaniel Anthony Foreman. Johanna Sabina Foster. Lindsay Samiko Fujimoto. Isaac John Galinas Matthias. Hayes Mormon Gardner. Shannon Gatewood. Emilio Ramon Gomez. Abby Elizabeth Gorham. Mohammed Zohad Akhtar Ai. Jordan Noel Hale. Georgina Haro. Ryan Christopher Hautzinger. Elise Hunt. Gwendolyn Erie. Brian Michael Jested. Jillian Sandra Johnson, in absentia. David Yertersha. Kimberlyn Michelle Kasparidis. Joseph Arthur Cathan. Ezra Sagan Katz. Torsten Kern. More to come. Pardon? Okay. Emma Elena Kanadarud Johnson. Karima Abdi Mohammed Kusau. Aaron Newman Lapkin. Nathan Joel Register LeBlanc. Christopher Hunjing Lee. Sangwoo Lee. Sean Kiwan Lee. Diane Elizabeth Adair Leonards. Chungjan Liu. Muchen Liu. Shirlene Siyun Luke. Courtney Jennifer Martin. Lucy Cotton McGowan. The President's Medal is awarded annually at each commencement to the senior who exemplifies an ideal Grinnell student, Superior Scholarship. Demonstrated leadership that credits both the student and the college. Compassionate and sensitive behavior and individual responsibility are among the qualities that must be demonstrated. It is my pleasure to present the President's Medal for 2015 to Austin McKenney. Aaron E.M. Mendelson. John Patrick Murtis. Uriel Millian. Eloise Prudence Miller. Maxwell Robert Mindock. Sarika Nandi Naidu. Kirsten Marissa Nelson. Chi Tui Nguyen. Christian Peter Wagner Noyce. Samuel Myers Offenberg, in absentia. Tracy Pa. Florian Philip Perret. Lockard Philizon. Catherine Yarmila Quinn. Rebecca Susan Richmond. Mia Scott Ritter. Adrian Rodriguez. Luis Enrique Romero. Emmett Charles Ruff. Ian Joshua Totten Sales. Rebecca Ann Salter. Elizabeth Jane Saka. Jordan Mackenzie Schellinger. Liam Thomas Shaughnessy. Du Young Shim. Louisa Suits Silverman. Alexa Gabriel Stevens. Devin Xavier Enoch Stewart. Robert William Storick. Kaylin Arlie Swift. Yohi Takasuka. And Marissa Tan, in absentia. David Anthony Turnus. Matthew Lewis Terry. Julianne Thompson. Samuel Ronald Turner. Amir Assad Walton. Jacob Matthew Washington. Joseph Michael Vlas. Christopher Thomas Mesky Woodington. Auntie Shui. Luke Michael Yeager. Sally Zaw. President Kington, these are the graduates from the Division of Social Studies.
President Kington, Dean Michael Latham will call the graduates to the Bachelor of Arts degree with independent and interdivisional majors.
Will the graduates to the Bachelor of Arts degree with independent and interdivisional majors please come to the platform as instructed by the Marshal? Alex Anderson. Opoyemi Grace Awe. Liliana Irene Bagnoli. Anna Marie Banker. Brianna Butler. Ann Chase Damtoft. Maisie Sarah Dolan. Lucas S. Hasegawa Eng. Devin Browning Gamble. Tawny Marie Gilly. Amulia Giwali. Luis Ignacio Hernandez. Aaron Juarez. Abigail Susan Lowe. Samantha Masako Mizuno. Laura Renee Nadolski. Scott Andrew Olson. Margaret Sophia Schmidt. Liesel Marie Schnabel. Tefiro Chituka Serenjogi. Emma Dorothy Sinai Yunker. Youngbin Song. Jordan Ray Tatel. Parker Ferrari Van Nostrand. Benjamin Eric Vaughn, Jr. President Kington, these are the graduates with independent and interdivisional majors. President Kington, I wish at this time to recognize the members of the class of 2015 who have been accepted into the 9th semester program leading to Iowa teaching certification. Would these students please stand as I call their names and remain standing until I have completed the list? Jasmine Renee Bejelland. Bethany Lynn Clark. Brian Michael Gestat. Lucy Cotton McGowan. Parker Ferrari Van Nostrand. Please be seated.
Will the graduates to the degree of Bachelor of Arts please rise?
Greetings to graduates, parents, families, and friends, our guest speaker, Bill McKibben, the honorees, and the platform party, trustees, faculty and staff, alumni, members of the Grinnell community. I also want to recognize one of our past honorary degree recipients, Henry Wilhelm, class of '68, whose son Charlie is a 2015 graduate. Today is Grinnell's 169th commencement ceremony. A good year. And I want to recognize your special day, so I'll keep my remarks brief. But I also want to recognize all the effort that went into each of you to get here. And we need to mark this momentous day and the end of this ceremony. And graduates, probably your last time here in this transition role and in your new role as a alumna of the college. Typically, presidential commencement addresses go on one of a few different ways. One, we look back to the past and anoint our graduates as the standard bearers of timeless values, or we look ahead to the future and reassure them that they're well prepared to face it, or if the mood strikes us, we warn them that they're not. The world is going to the dogs, so stand up straight and eat your vegetables. But in any case, such speeches are like the letters that outgoing U.S. presidents supposedly leave in the Oval Office desk for their successors. Here's the job you've inherited, they say, and here are a few suggestions on how to do it. Good luck, pass it on. My challenge in saying a few words today is that I'm not sure what type of world we're leaving you. If you read the speeches of my 19th and 20th century predecessors, you can't help but be impressed with their confidence in the future. They didn't expect sameness, but they expected definitely continuity. As my predecessor, President John Main, said in his 1906 inaugural address, we are gathering the fruits today of the seeds that were planted 60 years ago. It is a rich harvest, and only the beginning of richer harvests is yet to come. Such optimism. But the oncoming 20th century brought many radical and often disruptive changes. Some scholars even refer to the end of history. Today, we talk much more about change than about continuity. I've certainly talked about change almost constantly since I came to Grinnell. But what impact might all of this change have on aspects that maybe shouldn't be changed so quickly, like some values? The 20th century was an era of big institutions, public schools, post offices, banks, government agencies. But our lives have changed radically. While institutions are naturally slow to evolve, consider these questions. Why do we still have chains of national post offices when so much of our communication happens by email and text and phone? Why do we maintain banks with tellers when such a large share of our financial transactions happen online? Why do we still believe in national governments when hundreds of millions of people ebb and flow across global borders every year? Let me be clear, I'm not an opponent of big government and big institutions or of banks or of post offices. I've worked in big institutions, and while I've seen their inefficiencies, I've also seen their potential for good. But there's no avoiding it. The world is changing faster than it seems our social and political structures can keep up. Why does this matter on your graduation day? Because over the course of many generations, we have come to rely on institutions to uphold and defend our values. Big programs like Social Security and public education and public health were not just full employment schemes for bureaucrats. They were mechanisms that enabled us to attend to our shared needs and to care for our fellow citizens. In so many ways, we want institutions to help us. But if the world has changed so radically that those institutions are no longer well suited to our way of life, then what? I don't know. And this brings us back to my main point. No one here today, not me, not you, not your parents or grandparents or teachers, knows what type of world you're inheriting. Even if we could describe it, it would become different quickly. You're going to have to function in this fluid environment long after the rest of us are gone. So as I considered what kind of note to leave in your desk drawer, here goes a few suggestions. It's not clear to me which aspects of our way of life will endure and which will change. Your lives will be characterized much more by change than by continuity. You will have to use all the initiative at your disposal, perhaps much more than previous generations did, to find your way and to help others find theirs. You may not be able to count on institutions to help you. Instead, it may be up to you to revitalize institutions or, when they're beyond repair, to build new and better ones. We may already be living beyond the end of history, and if so, then maybe beyond the end of traditional commencement addresses as well. Fortunately, our professors and staff members are very far-sighted. They've been leaving their own surprises in your mental desk drawers for 4 years now. They gave you analytical and communication skills. They taught you how to listen, critique, and question your assumptions. They encourage you to enjoy creativity for its own sake, as well as to exercise it for its practical value. They showed you that when used properly, technology isn't just a toy, but can be a powerful tool. They urged you to reach across difference toward understanding. They offered you chances to experience and practice leadership. Whether you are a physics major or a visual or performing artist, or maybe both, your teachers imparted these gifts to you, among others. You'll need to build a new world. Use these gifts well. To guide your work, I urge you to remember the college's motto, Veritas et Humanitas, truth and humility. Being Grinnellians requires humbling yourselves before the truth. That is the charge that I bestow upon you today, and which it is also now your duty to take up amidst great change and uncertainty. I look forward to watching you do so. I leave you, every one of you, with my warmest wishes and my greatest hopes. May you continue to flourish, bringing with you on your journey visions of excellence, action, and the possibility of a greater future. Good luck.
At the close of this ceremony, we pray for wisdom and hope for these graduates as they journey forward. Grant them strength as they grow and change and lead in their communities throughout our world. As they make choices about service and leadership and what is most important to them in their ways of being and making meaning, may they be influenced by their Grinnell experience, seeking to serve others and working for the common good in this global community. We look to the future with great expectations of each graduate. May they fondly remember their Grinnell years and return often to their college home. Peace be upon each of us, O God, on this day and always. Amen.